Bitcoin managed to rally up to resistance exactly where I was warning you that we could be encountering a little bit of a problem, and bam, we are seeing a little bit of a drop down right now. But I want to update that analysis because I think I've noticed something here which many people are missing out on. And before I get to that, let me give you the analysis that brought us up to where we are right now. So take a look at this. Bitcoin managed to find support off that 47k level. We actually plunged below it, which looked very bad for a short time, but we then managed to recover back up, and we are very eerily copying what has happened in the past, which was absolutely disastrous for Bitcoin. The last time we saw something like this happen, Bitcoin fell from 57k all the way down to 42. That was a 26% drop. So I'm not saying that we're going to be getting a 26% drop now. That would put us below the chart, but I do want to show you how we might be forming that as well, but something else which is quite bullish as well. So quite a lot to go through in this video. As I said, we ended up rallying up to this resistance, and one of the things that I was telling you in my last video where I was walking along the beach was that Bitcoin, even if it does manage to rally up a little bit higher, has so much resistance up ahead, and we must not lose perspective of that. If we take a look at Bitcoin on this chart right here without any indicators, without any drawings, we can see that right here the 4-hour EMA ribbon has consistently been providing Bitcoin with resistance once, twice, and now thrice within this recent trend, and of course historically as well within this downtrend. While we had a spread like over here, this is not a spread, so it's useless, but when we do have a spread like right here, broadly speaking, being pretty useful here to show us where we might find a little bit of resistance. Not only that, the Ichimoku cloud lining up exactly with where Bitcoin has started to find a little bit of a problem, a little bit of loss in momentum. You know, if you take a look at this and how, especially just this 1 4-hour candle right here, it was rising up quite aggressively. Take a look at how that aggression flips into just losing momentum. I mean, really a lot of wicks to the upside, but getting rejected constantly, making another push, getting another rejection, now trending a little bit lower. And if we look at this on the 1-hour time frame, it becomes a little bit clearer to us, because what's actually happened here on this chart is that Bitcoin formed a top at about $49,500, fell down and formed a double top, and is now trending even lower. It broke below the neckline, which is generally quite a bearish sign, indicating that we've lost local support and we could be ready to drop a little bit more. And if we look at this on the Coinbase chart, of course I would only be expecting us to drop down to our support levels, which is going to be at about $47,000. So if we take a look at this right here, this is where I think it starts to look, quite good in terms of following the chart I've been laying out previously with this descending triangle, right? I mean, the Ichimoku cloud resistance lining up perfectly with this line, guys. This is not a coincidence. The technical analysis just works. And if you look at how the market has been responding to this line, it's pretty clear that Bitcoin is finding resistance along this diagonal trend line, which means that we could be able to expect a little bit of support along 47k. But the last time that we formed something like this was right up over here, and this is the very same set of price action, to be quite honest with you guys, where it's forming a lot of resistance along the diagonal resistance trend line. This starts at about $61,000 and the support is down at about $56,000. So this is quite recent, guys. This was only towards the very beginning of December that we were in this price range right here, where we end up finding support, bam, hitting resistance, finding support, hitting resistance, breaking down below. This is also what we have had just a few days ago, right? This breakdown over here is, to me, exactly the same. I need to show this to you on a naked chart. Let me just draw this very simply without all the other lines cluttering the chart up, because I know that this is going to get very confusing for some people right here. So I just want to make this very easy to understand for you all at the moment. Bam, right there, support right there, and bam, support right there. And then just very simply two diagonal trend lines offering resistance for the market that look a little bit like this. So we are broadly forming the same patterns right here, where we're forming these descending triangles overall, condensing to the downside. Our resistance is getting lower, but our floor is staying the same in both instances. And in both instances, we actually had a breakout, a confirmed breakout, relatively prematurely, which was then recovered, and then we found more resistance, and yeah, the rest is obviously history. So we're kind of forming the same thing right now. Now, this is something that I warned you we could be doing on one of my live streams recently, but I just said it was so unlikely that Bitcoin would actually copy exactly the same thing it's done before, although that's exactly what we're doing right now. It's just too easy to predict, so to me it didn't make sense, but it looks like that's what Bitcoin's doing right now, and I guess more power to it. I mean, it makes my life easier as an analyst if we're just copy pasting what's happened in the past, but obviously that is one of the key reasons that you guys should be making sure that you're watching all of these videos and live streams, because I drop a lot of gems that I oftentimes don't say twice. And so if you miss a single video, you're potentially missing out on a lot of value. And if you are if you do want to make sure that you don't miss that stuff, then go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, show the algorithm that you enjoy these videos by engaging with them a little bit, dropping a comment telling me how beautiful your day is and how amazing your dog is and all that, and that will obviously help you continue to see these videos, and of course help me reach more people as well, so I can keep on doing this. But right there, beautiful descending triangle breaking down, and another one that we're in potentially at the moment as well. But one of the key things that I think nobody really is looking at, it's just that, if we take a look at the funding rate, this is what kind of upsets me a little bit about all of my bearish analysis right now, is that, it's a little bit fashionable to be bearish. If we look at this on the 1 hour time frame, this is showing us that funding rates are negative right now, meaning that if you're opening a short position, if you're selling Bitcoin, you have to pay to keep your position open on derivatives exchanges, which is, basically all of what Bitcoin is traded on. And so it costs money to sell Bitcoin right now, is essentially what this means. And if you don't fully understand this, don't worry, it's actually pretty complicated and you don't need to understand it. You just need to take my word for it that this means that it costs money to be selling Bitcoin right now. Whereas if you're buying Bitcoin, if you're going long on Bitcoin, you're actually getting paid to go long right now. And that's just generally a display of the fear and greed in the market, right? When people are generally feeling quite fearful in the market, more people are going to be opening up short positions, less people are going to be opening up long positions. And we can see right there that the fear level is at 29. So it's not super high, it's not super low. But one thing that I do want to point out to you is that Bitcoin has consistently kind of been trending up to that 29 point on this fear and greed index, actually 3 times in a row, pretty much. And this is where we ended up seeing a drop in the fear, where we get even more fearful when we reach roughly this level of happiness in the market. We're probably going to be a little bit higher if the price is around the same level in 6-7 hours. And to me, that's just a warning sign that, people are starting to get a little bit too excited about the market again. But I'm not seeing this in the funding rate. People are generally quite bearish right now in this market, not only on the 1 hour time frame, but if we look at this on the 1 day time frame, it's pretty clear that, look, quite a few people are opening up short positions right now, and this is in stark contrast to what's happened in the past, where I was warning you guys that a lot of people were opening up long positions over here, basically telling us that people were perhaps overly bullish in the market up in this range, and now we're starting to see that people have actually been overly bearish potentially in this range. So this is quite a good contrarian indicator, where when we see a lot of people starting to open up long positions, we can start to anticipate a reversal in the market. But equally, because this stuff always has to work in reverse, if we're going to use it for the bullish case, for the bearish case, we have to use it for the bullish case to identify that when a lot of people start opening up short positions, we could be ready to break up as well. And the reason that I really wanted to draw this to your attention in this YouTube video is that if we take a look at this chart that I've been showing you for quite a while now, Bitcoin has been in this descending channel for a little bit, but more than that, and I think more excitingly than that, if that's a word, excitingly is a word, yes. More excitingly than that, what I think we're potentially seeing right here is, again, the same diagonal resistance line right here, but potentially, a little bit of a diagonal support level as well that perhaps just looks a little bit like this. And the reason that I'm drawing it like this to you guys is to show you that it doesn't have to be as clear cut as a descending triangle, right? Descending triangles are pretty bearish, right? You got a 66% chance of dropping down in them usually, and a 33% chance of rising up from them. But a kind of descending wedge that looks a little bit more like this is a lot less bearish, right? This is actually generally a little bit more of a bullish sign in these markets. And I just feel like, kind of seeing how the key thing that I want to make clear to you guys is, look, if we have a descending triangle, I want to level with you guys right now and dive deep into the analysis. And guys, if you appreciate me doing this, do me a favor and smash up the likes, because I'm about to dial up the intensity on this one, and I'm going going to do it in a way where you're still going to understand exactly what I mean, because that's what we're all about on this YouTube channel. But if you look at these descending triangles, right, let's just break down exactly what's happening here so that we're not clueless about this. This is where the market is gradually pushing the highs lower and lower and lower, meaning that each time the bulls make an attempt to rise up, they have less and less and less strength in order to do so, and so eventually the market crumbles below the floor, which we've been testing too often, right? The more we test the floor, the weaker it gets. Now, what happens when we end up breaking down, like right here, if I replay the chart, is that we've essentially told the bulls that they've failed. They've tried to push higher highs and they couldn't. The highs kept on getting lower, indicating their weakness, right? It's like you're in a boxing match and the person that's getting beat up gradually can, stand up in slower and slower times, right? He's getting hit in the face, he gets knocked over, he gets up within 2 seconds. The next time it takes him 3 seconds to get up, and then 5 seconds, and so on. And that's a very real indicator of weakness. If it just takes him longer to stand up, he's getting tired. He's in a lot of pain. That's kind of what this market is showing me with these lower highs. Wow, look at the water behind me. Really, what a beautiful office that I have here in the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Beautiful. What a great backdrop. Just stroke my ego a bit more, and then we end up getting the breakdown, and I think that's really important because that's showing us that the bulls lost. The bulls lost their line of defense. Their line of defense is this support right here. The bears are in control, and so we are ready to potentially start trending a little bit lower. So when we start trading sideways and then break right back up, what kind of signal does that send to the market? That's showing us that even when the bulls should have had no strength and the bears should have had all of the control in the market, actually it flips. And that's where all of a sudden this boxer that's taking 5-6 seconds to get up now just suddenly just jumps right back up. Everyone's like, what the fuck's happening? This is a lot of unexpected strength, and people get happy again. And the reason that I'm pointing this out to you, right, is that this is a big anomaly. I mean, we very rarely will be breaking down like this and coming right back up. And I just want to make it clear to you that in this case, it's obviously market manipulation. I mean, this is essentially just a BART pattern. I'm sure you guys are aware of what these are. You can draw like a, pair of eyes and an upside down smiley face, and you got Bart Simpson with his hair right here. That's just, we call it BART patterns in crypto. It's stupid, I know. But the point that I'm trying to make to you guys right now is that we're breaking critical levels, and that should tell us that the market is ready to drop massively, but it didn't. It didn't. And yes, while in this case we ended up dropping down eventually, I think one of the key things that we did is we were kind of washing out a lot of the bullish sentiment in the market, which has been successfully achieved, right? Since back here, it's pretty clear to see that funding rates were more or less floating around neutral, especially if you look at when Bitcoin was up in that high $60,000 range up here. Funding rates were a lot higher. Then we dip into this descending triangle, and if I just drop real quick, if I just drop 2 vertical lines right now to indicate to you when we entered this range, look, it's so clear what's happening, right? And I drop another vertical line right here to show you basically when Bitcoin broke up into the 60K range right over here. You can see funding rates really high, really high, really high, really high, and then bam, we enter this descending triangle and funding rates around neutral, a little bit bearish, but still not super bearish, and then bam, we break down, and now we are super bearish, and now things are very scary in this market, and people are very upset, and that tells me all I need to know. And I'm so sorry that the webcam is having issues. I promise you I am fixing this, and it will be fixed very soon. For now, you're gonna have to deal with a little bit of a choppy video quality, but the key point that I'm making to you right now is that we managed to flush out a lot of the bullish energy in the market and turn it considerably more bearish with this drop of the descending triangle. And these kind of fake outs where you drop down and then manage to recover back up after a confirmed breakout, this is not common, and I do not want to bank that that's going to happen again, right? And that's one of the key issues I'm having with my analysis that's bearish right now, is that when I consider the fact that the market already broke down but couldn't keep those lows and is now pushing the highs again, and the funding rates are so bearish. I mean, it's not so bearish, but it's definitely indicating a strong change where the market just isn't where it used to be. To me, that's telling me a lot about how this market could be a little bit healthier with underlying signs of health that we are not readily paying attention to. And I think that's so important. I also want to take this opportunity to just take a quick look at the RSI and show you guys that actually we are potentially in a little bit of a situation here where we have a hidden bullish divergence where the price is actually, if I just hide this Ichimoku cloud, generally trending lower while the RSI is trending higher. And you guys know that I don't actually like the RSI as an indicator. I think that it's too easy to be misled by this indicator because it's the first indicator that many people learn about, and as a result they get lazy and, oh, RSI is up, that means price must go down. And it's just a little bit of a stupid way to do analysis in my opinion, because as you can see, the RSI can stay low for quite a long time and then it can just keep on dropping, right? I mean, it really doesn't make a big difference to the price. But when we start seeing these things, I think that's where it starts to matter a little bit more, because I just want to remind you guys that the RSI means relative strength index. And this, I have to turn off my webcam now, I'm sorry, this is hideous, it's just not working. But the relative strength index here I think is very important, because when we consider its name, this is showing us that the relative strength of the market is rising while the price is dropping. And I just want to remind you guys that actually we didn't have a we didn't have a bullish divergence over here. This is the first 4-hour bullish divergence that we've had in a little while, and I think that's really important to keep in mind right now. We didn't see a bullish divergence for quite some time, and now we're in one at the moment. And again, just seeing how this is forming right now amidst a kind of potential, like I said, descending channel, descending wedge even, which is just generally an indication of the market, fairly quickly dropping lower, but then continuing to drop just a lot slower this time, which is an indication of that strength kind of starting to reverse and people starting to flip their bias a little bit. And the kind of way I want to illustrate this to you as I do with the upside is, let's say you're moving up really quickly, and let's say this is a missile, right? And it's moving up very, very quickly and nicely, but then gradually it kind of reached terminal velocity. I don't know if that term applies for rising up, but anyway, it's rising as fast as it possibly can. It's losing momentum now, so it starts to flip, and so you start to see that it's not rising up as quickly as it was before. It's rising up a little bit slower, a little bit slower, a little bit slower, until eventually it levels off and it just comes crashing right back down. And it's the same damn thing in reverse, right? I mean, we can be dropping down really, really quickly with a lot of power, but then gradually we kind of start slowing down, which is where we are right now, starting to slow down, and then bam, we start ripping to the upside again. And the reason that I'm saying this is actually quite a few reasons, but one of the key ones that I want to mention to you guys right now is that there is the it's not working even now, there is the options expiry happening. I don't know when, but relatively soon. And the whole idea behind this is that when there's a contract for, Bitcoin or something, or really any asset, and it's about to expire, you can generally expect a lot of manipulation just before that. And considering how many people are starting to take up their short positions in this market right now, I think the fountains are so beautiful behind me. I think it's so likely right here in this market, just in my opinion, that this thing ends up potentially just getting a really kind of freak rise to the upside to shock a lot of people. And I don't know if that's going to mean it finds more resistance or what, but right now I just think it's so out of the realm of possibility for many people that Bitcoin can break up, that kind of could start to make a little bit of sense to me, just looking at how this market is starting to move in terms of general sentiment, and the real shift. This is the key thing I really want to draw your attention to, guys, is that there is a real shift in this market right now, whereas previously, like I said, people were a lot more bullish up here, and now people are a lot more bearish. And I mean, look, like, we had a 40% correction. This is the thing that I rest my case on, right? Like, even though I was bearish in the short-term chart for quite a while recently, I've never said that I think Bitcoin is going to drop below its prior swing low right here. I really don't think that Bitcoin is going to be able to drop below 42. And so even if we did drop, I was basically just looking for a double bottom, and then we continue rising back up. And that's because we've now had a 40% correction, which is substantial enough for Bitcoin. This is generally the maximum correction that Bitcoin suffers if it's still in a bull market. And obviously there are exceptions, right? Like this correction that we had right here from 65 down to 28 was also a huge correction. 29 was also a huge correction. I mean, this was minus 55%. So that's one of the biggest corrections Bitcoin has seen and still stayed bullish, which is quite impressive. But generally, we aren't going to be dropping more than 40%, and this is just so accurate to that rule. that, you know, I mean, I don't want to be overall macro bearish at a time like this at the moment, while everyone else is starting to flip their bias. So that's why I'm starting to put this on your radar right now. I am starting to see these signs shift just a little bit. And, you know, my invalidation on this analysis would probably be if Bitcoin, you know, just continues this fall lower. You know, if it ends up kind of, you know, finding, there's quite a few places Bitcoin could find support at, I guess, including right here. You can see that there was a nice little bit of support that Bitcoin was finding kind of between the price levels of 48.5 all the way down to 47.5. And so, you know, and then 47K itself is kind of the key support area that I'm looking at anyway. So, you know, I think that this kind of whole range right here could potentially act as support for Bitcoin to potentially rise up just a little bit more again, maybe get that breakout. And the thing that I want to, you know, kind of draw to your attention right now is that even though I have been warning you about the Ichimoku cloud for quite a while, it's not the thickest cloud ever that Bitcoin has had to deal with, right? And if you've already watched my video on the Ichimoku cloud by typing this into the YouTube search bar, by the way, if you haven't, then pause the video now and do it, because this is a free video. Oh, by the way, I was super young when I made this video, don't judge me, but very good video nonetheless. I know I sound like an idiot, but it is great content. But the key thing to keep in mind, I think, right here is that this cloud, if you understand how Ichimoku clouds work, is not a very big area of resistance for Bitcoin, purely because it's not thick. Now, it does get thicker, so if Bitcoin doesn't manage to make a nice move up soon, then it's probably not going to be able to, according to this analysis right here. But, you know, that options expiry, I've just remembered when it is. It's tomorrow. It's on Friday. And so, you know, kind of, well, next 24 hours or so is really when this thing could be ready to blast off. And the cloud only really gets a lot thicker in 2 days' time. And so, you know, I think that this is quite a nice window of opportunity for Bitcoin to potentially, you know, find some support around wherever it is right now and blast up a little bit higher. And I'm not saying that it's going to resume the uptrend at all, but just to get a nice move to the upside, potentially break some of these resistance levels, hit something like 51K, maybe finally hit my target of 53K up over here. This was my bearish target for Bitcoin, where if it reaches this level, I would expect it to drop down massively. You know, you know, obviously a lot of time has passed now, so, you know, if we end up hitting 53 now, I think that this could actually just be you know, a real rally. You know, before I was saying if we hit 53K at this point over here, well, then I think we're definitely getting rejected. But now, because we've seen a bigger correction in terms of time, well, you know, rising up to 53 now might actually be a real bit of price action, which might stick. But in any case, I would like to see something that kind of takes us up there, because I think a lot of people are going to be quite disappointed in that. And of course, these markets, they do try to achieve maximum pain for the maximum amount of people possible. And I think that's really important to keep in mind in these kind of states of the market. Now, also Ethereum right here doing very, very nicely. Ethereum was up quite nicely compared to Bitcoin earlier in the day, and against Bitcoin in terms of just ETH BTC, you can see a big shoot up right here. And this does potentially indicate a lot of, a little bit of, again, underlying optimism in the market. This is something I was discussing with my analyst inside of 4Fly's VIP as well. I run almost every decision by him because he is basically a more conservative and sensible version of me. And I think that is a pretty cool combination, because I can be a little bit too aggressive sometimes and he kind of reels me in, which is, by the way, one of the reasons that VIP stays so consistent in the long run, is that you know, like there's two minds running VIP essentially in terms of analysis and trades, and we complement each other really, really well. And if you do want to jump inside, you already know the way. It's the first link in the description down below. Of course, if you want to get inside of Bybit and trade on the same exchange that I've been using for years, and the only exchange that I've been using in these recent months, then check it out with the link in the description down below, because they're running a bonus where you're going to get up to $4,100 free of charge just by using my referral link and making your first Bitcoin deposit. So go ahead and check that out if you like free money. And I also want to take a quick scan at the Lux Algo indicator, because it's consistently been showing us bearish signs right now. And I want to see if there's any signs of this thing starting to reverse, and also confirm some of the things I've been saying in this video lately, where I've been saying that we could be looking at a reversal. So 4-hour time frame still pretty bearish. 1-hour time frame, it's flipping a little bit too much, so hard to say what we are looking at the moment, but it is in a bullish state just for the minute. Definitely could be something interesting, but for now I think it's too early to say. I do think that the Lux Algo indicator is still showing us mostly bearish signs. Yeah, unfortunately nothing on the daily time frame as well. Definitely quite a choppy state in the market, but I will be looking at this for some confirmation. You know, the great thing about this is that because this is an indicator and not me being a human, it's a lot less subject to making mistakes. I'm sorry, it's definitely still subject to mistakes. Anything is, but it's a lot less subject to making mistakes because of emotions or, you know, overreacting and so on. And I think that's very, very useful, and that's why I try to complement my analysis with the use of this indicator, this set of trading tools. They got a bunch of really cool stuff here, and one of the key things that I want to show you is actually going to be the reversal zones right here, potentially indicating to us for the downside and upside where we could be starting to reverse. And you can see that we've already touched the bottom right here and started to get a few nice bounces up. So this is like a much cooler, more reliable version of the Bollinger Bands indicator. I don't like the Bollinger Bands indicator at all, but this one, I mean, when we're not in a very obvious uptrend, it's actually pretty reliable, right? Like, look at this right here. When we're dropping down and within the bull market, it's been able to give us a pretty nice idea of where we could be looking at reversal zones for the market. And so this is another cool tool that they have, and they've got a bunch of other stuff as well. They've got pattern detection as well, which is pretty cool. Obviously, I mean, you can do this as a human yourself, but this pattern detection right here, looking a little bit crazy, but just basically showing us the same thing I was showing you guys previously, which is that it was in a really nice parallel channel and ended up breaking down. So it's got a bunch of cool tools, and obviously it's going to redraw these patterns according to the sensitivity of the indicator and the time frame. You know, on the 4-hour time frame, it's actually got a pretty bullish kind of descending wedge pattern, which is pretty much exactly what I was showing you guys. It just draws the descending wedge slightly differently, and it's showing us that we already got the breakout out of it, so potentially quite a bullish sign in this market right now. But if you do want to check this indicator out, then of course the link is also down there in the description, where you can get up to 20% off with a discount just by using my code in the description. So go ahead and check that out. But with that, guys, I really hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, you know exactly what to do. Hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.